Progress.
Okay, we're on stage. Okay, we are recorded. Okay, wow. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is the regular monthly meeting of the Clinton Zoning Board of Appeals on Wednesday, April 16th, 2025 at 7:00 p.m. I'm Lori Jaffe, Chair of the ZBA. Welcome. Okay, the first order of business is call to order and seating of members. Would you like me to call attention? Yes, please.
Tom Schultz,
Here.
Dennis Ermshire,
Present.
Carol Walter,
Here.
Bertram Schmitz,
Here.
Lori Jaffe,
Here.
Maureen Noonan, Wayne Buchanan,
Here.
Teresa O'Rourke.
So we have 5 members. Okay. The next item on the agenda are minutes, review and approval. And the first item, March 19th, 2025 special meeting minutes. I'll ask for a motion to approve. Okay, that's Dennis. Is there a second?
A second.
Is there any discussion?
Can I ask a question? Wayne's an alternate,
Correct.
so is he seated for
No,
somebody?
we have 5 members.
1, 2, 3, 4.
1, 2, 3.
Oh, Carol's an alternate too.
No, I'm a full seat.
Oh, you're a full seat, I'm
There's
sorry.
1, 2,
So there is
3,
5, yeah,
4
yeah.
seated.
2, 3.
Chairman.
And the chairman.
The chairman
Oh, okay. That's all right. All questions, Carol, and all
Oh, yeah,
questions for board members. We're good. Okay. And is there a second?
Yeah, that's
Okay, is there any discussion on the minutes? All right, we will take a vote then, you wanna just call? Okay, all those in favor of approval of the March 19th, 2025 special meeting minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstains? All right. Then the motion, the minutes are approved. The next item are the March 19th, 2025 corrected regular meeting minutes. I will, March 19th, 2025. I'll ask for a motion to approve. Okay, is there a second? Okay, is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approval of the corrected regular meeting minutes? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, the minutes are approved. The next item are chair comments, and I have no comments this evening. The next matter is the public hearing. ZBA 25-3, East Walk, James Whaley applicant, Neil Coaching owner. Application for variance of section 26.11.6 front setback, 2 requests, and 29.2.1 expansion of a non-conforming structure to raise the second floor roof to allow for the expansion of existing living space. Assessors map 70, block 67, 20, zone R10. Tom, could you please read the legal notice, public hearing?
Town of Clinton legal notice of public hearing. The Town of Clinton Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, April 16, 2025 at 7 p.m. in the Rose Room of the William Stanton Andrews Memorial Town Hall, 54 East Main Street, Clinton, Connecticut, to consider the following. 1, ZBA 25-3 30 East Walk, James Whaley applicant, Neil Koshin owner, application for variance of section 26.11.6 front setback, 2 requests, and 29.2.1 expansion of a non-conforming structure to raise the second floor roof to allow for the expansion of the existing living space. Assessors map 70, block 67, lot 120, zone R-10. At said hearing, all persons will have the right to be heard and written communication received. The applications and accompanying maps and correspondence are available for public inspection from the town's website. Laurie Jaffe, Chair, Town of Clinton ZBA. Emailed to the Harbor News to appear 2 times on Thursday, April 3rd, 2025, and Thursday, April 10th, 2025.
Thank you, Tom. I'd like to outline what will happen during this part of the evening. Steps in the public hearing. First, the applicant will present his case. The board will then ask questions and or give comments. The staff will make comments if they have any. And we will address the record material that has been filed with this application, a part of the record. And we'll see if there are any other documents that need to be read into the record that aren't already in the record. Then I'll ask for any public testimony, either in favor, opposed, or neither in favor or opposed. And then we'll see the applicant or owners have any further comments. Then the board will decide if the public hearing should be closed, if the board has obtained and heard enough information to reach a decision. And if yes, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. So that's the order of public hearing. So I would ask now that the applicant present his case.
Thank you very much. My name is Jeffrey Beatty.
Do you want to step up?
Sure, whatever works
Yeah,
best.
just for the owl.
Sure.
Thank you.
My name is Jeffrey Beatty. I'm an attorney in Guilford at 20 Water Street. The law offices of Jeffrey Beatty. I'm here on behalf of the applicant, Mr. Whaley, as well as the owners, Mr. and Mrs. Cochran. And so I've submitted some information to the town through the portal that I don't know whether or not some or all of you have had a chance to take a look at, but I have hard copies that I'd be happy to share at tonight's meeting that may be easier than referring to the portal or your memories. So the first is obviously we're here for a variance, and one of the requirements is that we demonstrate a hardship to this board. And so the hardship here is that this lot at 30 East Walk was created prior to the adoption of your zoning regulations. In fact, when I was doing some research up at the town clerk's office, the map that I'm about to hand out to you all was map number 15, which is fairly old in the town's record. So I've got a copy of this right here. And our parcel on this map is lot number 30. So you see from this photocopy that kind of torn and frayed over the edges.
If I may ask, this is already in the record.
It is, this is, but I just thought it might be easier.
Thank you.
So it's lot number 30, which you see right there. Right there. No, actually, it's right there. So I was pointing you right there. So this lot, in doing the chain of title, I found a deed back from 1946 that was recorded referencing maps, this map, and lots 28 and 30 that were conveyed out at that time. That was prior to the adoption of your zoning regulations. This lot is a little under 5,000 square feet. It's located in the R10 zone. The minimum lot size in the R10 zone is 10,000 square feet. So it's a non-conforming lot that was conveyed out in 1965 to the person who developed the house that's on the property right now. That house, given the lot size, is also non-conforming, so the location of the house on the site doesn't meet your setback requirements right now because of what one was built and what the current zoning regulations are. Also included in the materials that were submitted is a copy of the field card. And I also have a copy of that I'd like to hand out to everyone. If you look at the second page, you'll see a color photo of the structure that's on the property right now. And you can see it's a structure with a mansard roof. And so on the second floor of the house, or where the roof line starts, it slopes inward from the side of the house towards not a peak, but it slopes up and then it has kind of a flat roof on the top. And so what the current owners are proposing to do is to put a more peaked roof on the top, which would be within the 30, would be at the 35-foot height requirement of your zoning regulations. But the result of that is the roof line or the wall line on the second floor, instead of being sloped as it is in the current house, will go straight up. And so because the setback is non-conforming, by increasing those walls, we're increasing the non-conforming, and that conformity, which is why we're here for the variance, because our proposal is to build those walls, and those walls will be closer to the setback line than the existing roof line is right now. That's the variance that we're requesting this evening. And so the hardship is not something that's been created by the applicants. We're working with a lot that was created well before the adoption of your zoning regulations. The structure was built, I believe, around, if not just before the adoption of your zoning regulations in the mid-1960s. And now they're trying to renovate or improve the house to bring it to increase the living space and also to make it look more like the other houses in the neighborhood. I think this one is somewhat out of character with the houses that are in the neighborhood right now. I've got Mr. Whaley here to show you a copy of, to show you what the proposal looks like, and this will give you a better idea of what we're suggesting.
Yeah, so the dotted line represents the existing roof. The solid blue line is the proposed roof. So in essence, we're just moving the top of this wall up 1.9. So also in the picture that Jeff showed on the second page, you'll see on the front of the house, there are 3 dormers. And the front wall of those dormers is already the line established that we want to create on the front and the back. So on this side, 2/3 of the wall, we already have that line established.
The other thing I'd like to point out with regard to the lot is all the other lots in the neighborhood are developed with cottages. So and they're all non-conforming as well. So the idea that we might be able to acquire land from a neighboring parcel to increase our lot size so that we'd be in conformity with your regulations really isn't an option in this neighborhood, given the time that it was created and the fact that there are already a number of cottages on those. Acquiring property from a neighbor would render their lot even more non-conforming than it already is. So looking to acquire additional land to remove the need for a variance really isn't an option. My clients reached out to, had to go to their neighborhood association building committee. They approved this proposed design, obviously subject to this board's approval of the variance application. And their comments were that, and I believe I filed a copy of that letter online. I've got a copy here that I have to share with you. This is from the Beach Park Point Association, and they submitted the plans to that association's building committee. And they approved it. They felt that the proposed design would be more in keeping with the pattern of development in the neighborhood than the existing house did. And so for that reason, they approved it earlier this month. The neighboring property owners also submitted their, not old enough to remember when letters would be handwritten letters, but we received a number of emails from the neighboring property owners. I've submitted copies of those to the portal as well, but just to have the board members be able to take a look at them. There are a number of letters or emails, chain of emails that were forwarded to me Monday afternoon that I uploaded yesterday. And they're all from the neighbors directly abutting the property and in the neighborhood, saying that they're in favor with the proposed design, they've seen the plans, they've had an opportunity to discuss it with my clients. Their builder, and there really hasn't been any objection to it. They feel that the proposed improvements would be better for the neighborhood and bring the existing structure more into keeping with what's there currently. They also, a couple have noted that the structure has fallen into a little bit of disrepair. And they think that the proposed improvements would be a welcome addition to the neighborhood. So those reasons, we would respectfully request, we point out that respectfully request that the variance is necessary to make the proposed improvements. I think we've demonstrated the hardship, given that the lots were created prior to the adoption of the zoning regulations and structures non-conforming. So that really any improvement of the type that we're trying to bring and make it more contemporary and more in keeping with the development of the neighborhood is going to require a variance given the lot size and the location of the house on the lot. We believe what we're proposing is in keeping with the pattern of development in the neighborhood with the changes that have been made to the cottages in the neighborhood over the years. We haven't received any objections that I'm aware of with regard to the neighboring property owners. In fact, we've received letters of support. For those reasons, we'd respectfully ask that you grant the variance application to allow this project to move forward. I'd be happy, and Mr. Whaley would be happy to answer any questions you might have with regard to this application.
I have a question.
Sure.
Maybe for Mr. Whaley or Chuck, either of you. In the project description, the statement is made, the current roof impedes on usable space and is not properly vented, causing a mold issue. Could one of you just briefly address that? Because I think that's an important part of the application.
Right, so the house is heated, it's gonna be, a year-round house. And the roof currently is not insulated properly and it is not vented properly. So when you generate heat in the house and if the roof does not breathe, then you get condensation, which becomes black mold. So we would be, by bringing the house up to current construction standards, we would eliminate that issue.
I'm sorry, you said you would eliminate that issue.
The issue of not having, we would obviously, with the way the building codes are, we would not have a problem with potential black mold.
Just wanted to clarify, I'm sure that's what I understood.
Does anyone else have any questions on the board at this point?
What was the difference in the square footage or the second floor from what it is currently?
So we're not increasing the actual square footage of the living space, it's a volumetric expansion. So the current roof line at the peak
Right.
is in 1'9". So that when we build a plumb wall as opposed to that rafter, it will be out.
So
like
about 4
4'9".
feet on each side then.
Excuse me?
Well, there'd be, on each dimension, you'd have 2 feet or 1.9 on each side,
Right,
on all 4 sides.
yes, but the other two sides are in compliance. It's the two sides that are not, I'm concerned.
I'm not that familiar with this neighborhood. Are these septics or sewers? They're all, we don't have any sewers. I didn't know if there might be an association support, because it's very dense. What are your current bedroom
It's 5 bedrooms.
capacities?
This house is 5 bedrooms.
5 bedrooms upstairs?
Yeah, so we've got the B100A application from the health department.
Yeah.
And that's all approved? Yes, well, it wasn't, the B100A wasn't applicable to this project because we're not increasing the size of the square footage or adding any bedrooms.
Can I ask a question of you, since this is my first rodeo? Reading this, it says that he is applying for 3, essentially 3 requests. Is that because this has not been the nonconformity of the size of the building has never been approved? Is that where those two requests come from?
So what it is, because of the shape is going from this to
Right.
this, it's not a non-conforming structure, you know, that's changing it, and then it's a little confusing because the setbacks, it's in the setbacks aren't, they're not
Right.
asking for more.
Right.
It's just, it's a volumetric expansion, so that's why it comes out a little bit, it's still, so it's meeting what's on the plane now.
Well, I just got confused because it seemed, I mean, I got the
It is
volumetric
confusing.
thing, but I didn't see why the setbacks were part of this. Because according to the map, the setbacks are not being changed at all, it's in the same footprint.
So we have a volumetric expansion where if you imagine this is the wall and it's, say it's in 8 feet setbacks, when you're adding something that wasn't there before, it requires a variance.
Oh.
So that's why, if this was a normal situation where it wasn't setbacks, it would need to come, but just because the rest of the house is already there, they're just bringing it out to where it's already existing.
So in a case like this, do you take consideration the fact that the dormers are already there? They are already at the proposed distance that they wanted?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the board can take that into consideration. I mean, it's funny because we had this discussion in the office about a year ago, and we talked to our town attorney because we had different opinions, but volumetric expansion is something that has to come before ZBA, but you're absolutely right. It's not going out anymore, it's not adding anything, it's just moving it.
Yeah, it's essentially adding height wise and just the distance.
Just
between
the
those
exact,
dots.
that's all it is.
Yeah, okay. But the height is still within the limit, yeah, still within the term, right?
It's it's not gonna create anything more non-conforming, it's just gonna tip that out a little bit. So no additional, fee or being required.
So the exterior walls are just gonna be in alignment with where the dormers are.
Just across the whole face.
Right, of course, yeah.
On the opposite side, there aren't any dormers, so we'll establish a new there on the walks, east walk side. The dormers are.
Dennis, Bert?
And I had asked you the question about the mold and, this is my final comment. I think, that's an important issue to me because the board can consider issues of public health and safety under section 1.4 and 13.1.2 of the regulations. So I appreciated your. Does the staff?
I was just gonna mention the same thing, so, if you look at section 13, which is the variances and the hardships that you can, consider. As they said, it can be self-created, it can be financial and personal, but it does say here that, a literal enforcement of the regulations would result in an exceptional difficulty or hardship that, will be done, that substantial justice will be done in public safety and welfare secured. So that is included as one of the reasons for hardship.
I would expect that if you're gonna go straight up, you're gonna have to have a certain code for the angle of the roof line anyway. And
I would be within, but it's all right.
and it's gonna be, even though you're changing the angle of the roof line, it's still gonna be within the code.
And once if a variance is approved, then it would go on to building permit, and then building, official would look at it to make sure everything's true. That's what you want.
And the house is all winterized already.
It is, but not up to current standards. I mean, the insulation and all that, they live in Florida in the winter time. You could potentially live there in the winter.
Isn't that part of the B100A that it has to?
So that's for the septic capacity, so Rebecca Drew, who's a sanitarian, didn't feel B100A was applicable, they did apply. But because they're not adding on bedrooms and they're not building anything new, because they always look at bedrooms for capacity of the septic system and location. So if they're gonna put a structure on, they would look at how close it is to the septic system. Because there's no new bedrooms and it's all happening up here, Rebecca said.
Well, it's going from seasonal use to year round. As to how B100A is.
Right, but this application is just for the roof, it's not for winterization. So that's why. Not a big question.
Is it just a seasonal cottage now? I mean, is it seasonal or year?
It's year round. There's a heating system and there is insulation that was typically used in the sixties when they did the work with the latest remodeling.
At this point, I'd like to will address the record and the material that has been filed, is part of the record. Are there any other documents that you have tonight that you wish to have entered into the record?
I don't think so. I did bring in a copy of the GIS map that shows the development on the other properties. That should, going to my point earlier about not being able to acquire anything from neighbors. But I think this map that I submitted already shows the size of those other lots, and kind of buying additional land from a neighbor would really not be feasible alternative to what we have here.
So you don't wish to have that read
No, I don't.
at the record or anything else read in the record?
Nope.
At this point, I will ask if there is any, public testimony. So is there any public testimony, tonight in favor of this application? I have to ask it 3 times, so is there any public testimony in favor of this application? Is there any public testimony in favor of the application? Is there any public testimony opposed to the application? Is there any public testimony opposed to the application? Is there any public testimony opposed to the application? Finally, is there any public testimony neither in favor of nor opposed to the application? Any public testimony neither in favor nor opposed to the application? Finally, any public testimony neither in favor nor opposed? Does the applicant or owner have any further comments before the board decides whether or not the public hearing should be closed?
No, just thank you for your attention and your questions.
Thank you. So at this point, the board will decide if the public hearing should be closed. In other words, if the board has enough information to reach a decision. So, Tom, do you feel you have information? Bert? Dennis? Carol? And I feel that I have it. So since we are in agreement, I'll ask for a motion to close the public hearing in ZBA 25-3. And it's Dennis, is there a second? Second. Is there any further discussion? Sherry, could you please take a roll call vote?
Okay. John Schultz,
In favor, plus.
Dennis Ermshire.
Hey.
Carol Walter,
In favor of.
Bertram Schmitz. Lori Jaffe.
In favor of closing.
Okay, the motion is 5-0 carried.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is administrative. So the public hearing is now closed, it will be administrative. In ZBA 25-3, 30 East Walk, things where the applicant, no coach and owner, application for variance, section 26.11.6 front setback. 2 requests, 29.2.1, expansion of the non-conforming structure to raise the second floor roof to allow for the expansion of the existing living space. Assessors map 70, block 67, lot 120, zone R10. So the board has 65 days from today's date, which is the close of the public hearing, to make a decision. So this, just to briefly summarize, this is an application for variance of section 26.11.6 of the town regulations front setback, 2 requests, and 29.2.1 expansion of the non-conforming structure to raise the second floor roof to allow for the expansion of the existing living space. And the documents are in the record, and an opportunity was given to the applicant to add anything this evening to the public record. And at this point, I'd like to see if there are any further comments from the board. And when each person speaks, if you could just briefly articulate the reason or reasons why you are in favor of or not in favor of the application.
Yeah, I feel that it's a reason. do that work. So, hopefully we'll do it.
I'm in favor.
If you have any specific reason?
Minimal alterations, so I'm in favor.
I'm in favor. I see it as an improvement to the health and welfare of the family and an aesthetic improvement to the neighborhood.
And I am in favor of this application. And one of the significant factors for me is what I alluded to earlier, is that there are ventilation and mold issues, which to me they suggest issues of public health and safety under the regulations that I cited. And also, this is a volumetric expansion of the non-conforming structure. The building, the imprint is not being increased, which is also a significant factor of it. Are there any further staff comments? Is the board ready to make a decision? Go around again?
Yes.
Bert?
Yes.
Okay, and I am ready to make a decision. And the staff has prepared a draft motion, as our staff does. And let me just pass this around to the board members. If you want to take a quick look.
The only thing I would say is if you would like to add the information that you suggested about the mold and the health, you might want to add that to what I have.
Okay,
If you want to add any additional regulations, that would be the one that's in the variance is 13.1.2. Or, yeah, 13.1, but the other 1.2. And I can take it here, and if anyone else, would like, this is just a draft, so certainly however you want to change it. The only thing we want to keep the same is the top because it lists the revision dates and everything.
and this would also be down here as well, at the bottom of the draft motion. This would be
Yeah. But, if you could say strict enforcement of this, just like a hardship pursuant to this regulation. I can. Changes the mission, but it's.
So can you sign this as wetlands enforcement officer?
Oh, I'm sorry, sometimes it's zoning wetlands.
Oh, okay, all right.
Sometimes
Okay, I wondered.
do both instead of one or the other. Yeah, I.
Spot videos.
Does everyone have a chance to read the draft motion? And again, this is, draft motions are prepared in the affirmative. Board members can vote yes or no, but that is the way that we've been advised to prepare, the staff has been advised to prepare draft motions. So, I will ask if someone would like to make a motion to approve ZBA 25-3.
I'd like to go to.
And as a staff, as Mr. Elder mentioned, if you feel so inclined, if you wanted to suggest something in addition, that's accepting a difficulty. Strict enforcement regulation resolved an exception to public safety and welfare should be secured or something along those lines. And that the factors that I mentioned as well about public health issues. If you so choose, but
So,
read the whole motion, you can read the whole motion, yes, yes.
draft motion. I move to approve ZBA 25 3 for 30 East Walk to grant 19.22 feet where 25 feet is required for a front setback for the east side of the property facing East Walk. 24.36 feet where 25 feet is required for a front setback on the west side of the property facing Walk Road, and expansion of a non-conforming structure as shown on the following plans entitled Property Survey Map depicting existing conditions of 30 East Walk, Clinton, Connecticut, 06413, prepared by Fettis Engineering, dated 10/8/2020, with general revisions dated 2/18/2022. Last revised by James Whaley on 3/10/2025, and architectural plan dash Goshen Project 30 East Walk, Clinton, Connecticut, 06413, prepared by James Whaley, dated 1/22/2025, and adopt the following findings of fact. One, the application has met public notice and hearing requirements pursuant to CGS Chapter 124, Section 8-7B. 2, the change to the roof line will not adversely affect the use of neighboring property. 3, the expansion of the roof will add volume to the structure, but it will not create an increase in the footprint of the structure. 4, strict enforcement of setback requirements for this property would result in a hardship pursuant to section 13.2 of the Clinton zoning regulations. 5, strict enforcement of regulation 13.1.2 would result in exceptional difficulty or unusual hardship so that public safety and welfare are secured.
Second.
Right. Is there a second? Thank you, Tom. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Okay, is that Dennis? Oh, is it Bert? Who's the- Second. Are there any further board comments before we take the vote?
I have no further comments.
Dennis, Bert? I have no other comments. Could you please go to the vote?
Tom Schultz,
In favor.
Dennis Ermser. Carol Walter. Aye. Bertram Schmidt. Lauren Duffy.
Aye.
Motion to grant the variances as requested was 5-0 to 0. The motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is new business. Business. Next item on the agenda is correspondence. None. Okay. Next item on the agenda is addition to agenda, the May 23rd, 2025 regular meeting. What's listed here is the closing date is May 7th, 2025. Are there any other additions to the agenda? The staff?
At this time, no.
Yes. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Dennis moved.
Second.
Some
Favor?
favor.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you. Oh,